Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to another indie horror author interview. This time with a friend of the channel, Elford Alley. How are you?
I'm doing good. Happy to be back.
Yeah, happy to have you. It's been a while, but
Yeah.
we interact and stuff, and we've been talking about things. I'm very excited that to have you to talk about your next project. I think I own everything that you've done.
Oh, I
I was
love.
going through the
So
list
happy.
today and I was like making sure I didn't miss anything for like intro purposes. And then I was like, I have all of these.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah. Well, and one of them you did a really cool thing when I think it was when Roe v. Wade got turned over. You did this thing where you would send books to people when they showed that they had donated to Planned Parenthood,
Yeah.
right? Was that what it was?
Yeah.
And so I like that was the first time I got a book, and it was one of your it was another collection. And I was so excited because you had like you do your doodles and you had like your little note in there. Anyway,
Mhm.
it was just a really cool thing. But yeah, I've gotten everything since I had that. But yeah, so you have a new release come out. You have
Mhm.
done several things prior to this. You've done Apartment 239. You've done the sequel to that, High Strangeness. We have both of your kid books that are super fun, A Haunted Holiday and a Ceremony Stroll. And then I have the one that I think you sent me that I have signed was the other collection, which is called, what is it called? Find Us and Other Stories.
Yeah.
And that's the one I have. And then you also have Never Leaving, which was published through Infested.
Yeah. That was
Um,
my most recent one. It came out in
that's really
February.
nice. Yeah, that wasn't that long ago,
Yeah.
theoretically. So, but yeah, so you've done a lot of stuff. But now today specifically, we are here to talk about your next collection,
Hmm.
which is
Yep.
Mad Days, Stories and Curses.
Yep.
And this cover is so cute. I love it. And
Oh,
I
thanks.
know illustrations kind of play a big part in this. So I
Mhm.
wanted to kind of start by jumping into kind of how this is different from other collections.
Yeah. First off, illustrated, and I illustrated every single story, and
Yeah.
it's kind of a mix of there's 16 short stories,
Mhm.
and there's 19 drabbles, which are just like
Yeah,
a few lines to a couple paragraphs,
sure.
and then there's three novelettes, and all of them have their own full page illustration. And
That's
so, I mean,
crazy.
there's almost 50 of them in the book. I might
Oh
have
my
went too far.
gosh. No, it's gonna look amazing in print, I bet. I can't wait to see it like this feels like a book you want to own physical
Yeah.
versus, ebook, because then you can see all of the illustrations. Um I was just going to read the little synopses, I guess, from the back. A vanishing town, a cursed cemetery, a treasure hunt on Earth's last day. Mad Days is a tour of the forgotten corners of Texas and Oklahoma, past and present, featuring 13 short stories, 19 drabbles, and 3 novelettes, all illustrated by the author. In these places, there are ghosts and monsters, all waiting for you. This is cute. I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. And then,
So, how long were you working on all these different? Because that is quite a mix of things. How long
um,
did it take to get all that together?
I mean, a while. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the drabbles I wrote in 2021, and some of the
Mm,
stories go back to then. And then
yeah.
so some of them have been a long time. But a
Yeah.
lot of the, especially like the novelettes, were written specifically for it, for the collection. And
Oh, okay.
so I didn't. So it's one of those. It's not necessarily like sometimes. And I've been guilty of this too in the past, where your collection is a repository of like the stuff that you couldn't get out there and you tried, and but of this,
Yeah.
but a lot of this is stuff that was written specifically to be in the collection and released like that. But yeah, it
Yeah.
is like years of. 'Cause I think my last one I put out in fall of 2021. It's my
Hmm.
last short story collection, so it's everything since then.
Yeah. Yeah, because I will admit, the collection I've done was all rejected stories, and a couple I wrote specifically to make it bigger. But yeah, it was all stuff that like didn't go anywhere. And so when you go into writing something like novelettes for something like that, do you have like a specific mindset? Or I guess like, I mean, it sounds like there's a mix of things, obviously, because it's a collection, but thematically speaking, are there any ties between the stories like that?
Um, sometimes they're linked. Really, the only tie was keeping them kind of in the Texas Oklahoma area, which I mean that's where
Locations.
most of my stuff is set anyway.
Yeah.
But
Right.
yeah, and also just kind of having what's funny is like with my novellas and novels, there's a lot of like mix between horror and comedy. There's a lot of light moments. My short stories are like the opposite. They're usually like I went for like just feelings of dread. You know,
Yep.
I love when a short story collection unsettles me, and
Yeah.
so like I'm reading the latest one that T.L. Bodine wrote, and it'll
Hmm.
be out in I think a month and a half maybe, and
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
every story is just it's a feel bad good time, and so it's
Yeah.
like I really wanted to capture that with each story. That's like the tone I went for. Um,
Yeah.
so that's why I
Yeah.
kept in time more. That's kind of like for all the what ties them all together for me was trying to
Okay.
keep that tone to it.
Yeah, because I went from your previous collection, and obviously I wouldn't include the kid books because I feel like that's obviously tonally very different anyway. But the going into Apartment 239 after having read the previous collection, it was quite a shift because that is a very fun book. Like
Yeah,
the just in the very beginning when he gets where he's going, and then you start piecing the stories together of these other things going on, it is very amusing in a way that because I had read the short story collection first, I was like, oh, this is very different, but in a very
yeah,
fun way. So it's interesting to keep and it's not easy to do because short stories, I feel like you have to pack a lot in relatively limited, word count. So that's hard to do. I don't think that's very easy.
yeah. It's hard. You have to say as much as you can with as little as you can.
Yeah.
Um, but it is easier to maintain for me to
Yeah.
maintain the fear, the dread, the creepiness.
Yeah.
Like I feel like in a when I write novels, and maybe I have a chapter or something, but it's really hard to keep that going. And then I end up,
For that
going to
long.
comedy. Like there's got to be like almost like a relief valve for the reader after
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
while. And but with short stories, it's kind of like, oh, I can just make this as dark as possible. And
Yeah. I think that's impressive because I don't think it's easy at either front. I think trying to pack it in, I struggled. Like I'm always impressed when people don't overbuild the story because that's something I do way too often. I think I'm like, oh, I got this simple idea, and then it's way too big for something like a short story.
yeah,
So my experience with your previous short stories is that you are very good at that, at being able to keep it very like it's a short story, but it does have a lot of that going into it where as I'm always blown away when people can do that because I don't think that's an easy thing to do.
yeah, no, I mean, and there's a lot of there's a lot of drafts to get to that point. Like there's the the bare bones first draft. There's just you got it on the page, and then the
Yeah,
overwritten second draft is always what I do, and then the third
yeah,
one's where it's kind of like if you edit it down to what works. And so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and there's usually more drafts. But that's like the three main stages of anything I do is like bare bones, overwritten, and pretty much in place.
I love that. At least you're owning the stages. No denial. So when's the release date for this, and tell us where it's going to be.
September 2nd, and it'll be on. You'll find it'll be on Amazon, Bookshop. It'll be Ingram Sparks, so
Okay,
maybe it can have a physical presence in bookstores.
that would be cool. Yeah,
And Draft to Digital, I use that to have it kind of everywhere, like Barnes and Noble and things like that, like online,
yep,
and paperback and ebook.
yeah. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and pre-recommend the physical though, right? Because I feel like again, with this having the illustrations and stuff, this is going to be something you want to have in your hands so you can look at it. Stuff
Yeah.
like that just doesn't hit the same on phones or computers or Kindles, I feel like. Um, so we talked a little bit about this, but I wanted to kind of dive a little bit deeper into kind of the process of having to create something that is so many elements. So when you're writing these short stories, the drabbles and like the novelettes that you talked about, what was the process of writing those versus adding the illustrations, and did one come before the other?
It was the stories first.
Okay.
I more or less had maybe 80-85% of the collection was done. The stories were written. I had some stuff that was in draft form and
Mm.
outline form, and then I was talking with another publisher, and that was who it was going to be released with previously, and that didn't work
Yep.
out. But
Right. Yep.
uh, they were like interested in me illustrating it because they really liked the kids' books that I did, and so
Okay.
I started. I did that, and I did. illustrations for all of them, um, and that was kind of a tough thing of like looking at a story and be like, okay, in one quick image, sell
Yeah.
the whole story, the tone of the story, um, and every now and then there were a few where it's almost I couldn't think of one, and it was
Mhm.
tough to come up with that image. And like one of my favorite images in it is for a little travel called Revenge, and it's just a skull tied to a stick, kind of like a version of what's on the front cover. And it really
Yeah.
didn't have anything to do with it. It was just like it's a neat image. It's a neat image. I like it. So that was a few
Yeah, I
times that
mean,
what I ended up doing.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and sometimes it came out sillier. Like one was for a story called "Bad Dreams that Burn and Rest," and it's like a tombstone that says your name here, and there's like this little ghoul thing kind of creeping over the top of
Cute.
it.
I love it
And
though.
then, but I had to kind of watch that because there's one I did illustration for a story called "Trapped," and it came out
Uh-huh.
too silly, like too cutesy. And I was like, no, that's and like I redid it and have a new one in the collection, but it was one of those like that's too I went too far the other direction.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was that was gonna be my follow-up was, did you find yourself having to redo images a lot? Was it just that one?
Yeah, there's a few that I would redo, or there was one that I couldn't make it work. I'm trying to think what story it was, but I just did
Yeah.
all these different versions of it, and I could not get it to work how I wanted. Like I could see it in my head, and it
Ugh,
just didn't
yeah.
turn out. Um, I think it was for Ghost Hunter, and the image
Okay.
is a trailer house on fire. But I was trying to do an image of this weird monster that's like
Mhm.
bent at a weird angle and watching someone as they're driving down the road. And I could see it in my head, and every time I drew it, it just didn't work. I couldn't get it to work.
Ugh,
So I had like a
yeah.
stack of like trying to make it work.
Yeah, and I've seen your doodles in packages I've gotten from you, but is illustrating or drawing something that you have done prior to being involved in, like, the book side of things?
Um, yeah, I always drew. I've always just done little illustrations, little comics, for friends and things
Yeah.
like that. When I was real young, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to draw comic books, and so I was
Oh,
obsessed with
I
that
love it.
for
Yeah.
years until I eventually kind of
Yeah.
moved into the writing thing and became obsessed with that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those like in doing this, it's like I want to get better at this. I do want to.
Yeah.
So I've been working on that, like improving it. You know,
Yeah.
improving my style and just better illustrations.
Yeah. I wish I feel like some things you really can just learn how to do to have a skill set, but I think some things, especially when you're talking about art, you have to have something already in you, and then you can fine tune it and grow from there, and I don't have an artistic bone in my body. I can't I wish I could put digital things together for promos all day long. I can use like stock photos and I can make stuff work and mess with textures, but I had to take an art class once and the drawing and like trying to no, like I do not have that skill set. So I'm always impressed when people can do it. And then especially I love the idea that is going into this where it's going your illustration and your drawing portion is going into like the book side of things because I think that I love seeing books that are unique and a lot of them, it doesn't matter. I mean, and not to say anything like, oh, the covers might be stunning and the book may be phenomenal, but there's not a lot of variation in art in books. I feel like that's typically usually like
Yeah,
special editions or all these
yeah,
other things. And so to see you're putting out this collection and everything in it also has its own visual that you did yourself, I think is really special. And I guess that's obviously something that's very unique to this collection. But I wanted to ask, was there anything else about doing this collection that may be different from previous projects or something that really felt like maybe you pushed your boundaries or made you think outside the box a little further?
yeah. It was. I I kind of felt like with my last collection that it was like I was repeating motifs, I was repeating themes. Like I felt like
Oh,
I was almost like repeating myself. And I think with this
yeah.
one, it was like I didn't want any story to feel. I mean, there's stories that share characters and things like that, but I didn't want it to feel like the same thing. Or oh, it's
Yeah.
another one of these stories. Like I wanted every story to belong in this collection. Nothing to ever feel
Yeah.
like a filler. And
Yeah.
um, there was stuff that didn't make the cut. There was stuff I took out because it was
Yeah.
like even stuff I liked. That was just like it just doesn't stand up on its own enough. Like it's too similar to this, so it's got to go. Um, and there were stories that like There's one called She's Not Home, another one called Devil's Backbone that like I really liked them, but they just weren't working, and so
Yeah.
I rewrote those a lot. I hit up everyone that was willing to take a look at the stories
Yeah.
and give me some feedback of like what can I do to fix this and improve it, and really put it into that. I think that's I really want, like you said, we talked about making something special. That's what I wanted this to be. Like I wanted to be, if you're gonna
Yeah.
shell out money for this, like the stories are good. I wanted the art to be fun. I just
Yeah.
wanted it to be like a fun thing you sit and look at or stare at and read, and I don't know, like an experience when you sit with it.
I mean, I know obviously like I haven't read it yet. It's going to be added to my Elford collection, but I just I mean it already sounds like it's going to be. I mean, I like the cover I think is super cute. I love the cover. And the just the ideas in general, and I'm already a fan of the writing and the way that you tell stories, so I feel like that's going to be a no-brainer for me. When you're talking about doing something different like this, what is kind of like your what helped you feel like maybe come to these specific stories, or you said some didn't make the cut, so other than making sure the stories were kind of different and you wanted them to kind of fit your overall theme of being darker, what was sort of your process to whittle this down? Did you originally have even more and then you just kind of went through and got rid of ones you didn't think
Yeah,
fit?
yeah. I had there's maybe there's 3 or 4 additional stories
Hmm.
and a novelette. Now the another novelette, and that one I was really torn about because I think it's good, but it was also it was a young adult book really, and it just didn't fit with it. It was too much of
Everything
a
else.
departure from everything else, so I kept it off. And one of them was it was a short story that I had written for Brandon Applegate. He's done these 2 anthologies about
Yeah.
the horror tropes,
Yep.
and I wrote one that was like a riff on Nightmare on Elm Street, basically the Dream Demon, which the idea was that I feel like someone like Freddy Krueger could go further and do stranger things and get into people's
Yeah.
subconscious and mess with their decision making abilities, and like
Oh.
basically he could play them in a way that
Yeah.
he doesn't do. And so I did a story like that, and it didn't make the cut in the collection or the anthology. It didn't get accepted. And I was going to put it in there because I really liked it, but the more I looked at it, it was like it doesn't stand on its own, and I feel like okay, well, that's probably why it didn't make the anthology. So if it didn't make the anthology, it couldn't stand on its own. Why is it going to go in my collection? Like, why am I going to give this to my readers if it couldn't make
Yeah.
that cut? Why is it going to make this? Because I mean, sometimes you have stories that are you send to an anthology and they get rejected, but you feel good.
Yeah.
You know they're good. You feel good. You know they might have made the finalists and just didn't make it, or
Yeah.
the average anthology gets like 200 to 700 submissions. Like brilliant stuff
Yeah.
doesn't make
It's
the
a
cut.
lot. You're right.
But I feel like as the author, you kind of know sometimes when it's like this didn't make the cut, but it's good, and I can put this out on my own, and people are going to enjoy it. And also, it didn't make the
Yeah.
cut, but there's probably a reason why it didn't make the cut. I can see that now. So I think that was
Yeah.
like a lot more thought went into this one as far as like being willing to cut things, say no to things, alter
Yeah.
things, and also reading a lot of like I love to read short story collections, and I was reading a lot of uh, like Laura Keating's short story collection and things like that were just
Mhm.
phenomenal. And it was like I should be doing stuff like this of this caliber. Why am I not doing stuff of this caliber? So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
you love it, but at the same time it kicks your ass. Like it's like why
Yeah. No,
like
sure.
it's like hit you in the back of the head. Why can't you do that? Like why can't you make
Yeah.
people feel those things? Um,
Yeah. I admire what you said about the way you're looking at these, because there's a reason, and I know we talked about this when the roles were reversed and we were talking about other things, but I can't do rejections. I can't. I tried. I just am not cut out for it. So I don't even submit any. I just publish my own stuff. But I've had a story that I was like, you guys are just wrong. This is phenomenal. Like I'm using it. And it did go into a collection I did. And then I had another story that no matter where I sent it, I didn't even get a rejection. I just got like ignored, and I reworked it until it was really so much more of what I wanted to do with it, and then I added that to my so. But I'm a crybaby. I'm like super offended. I'm like not in an angry, disrespectful way by any means, because I've been on the other side of that. It's very hard to tell people no, especially
yeah,
if you did like the story, especially when it's something unique or different, and it's hard, but I admire that you can look at it that way because I am not there. I am
Yeah.
not there.
And honestly, like you talked about, being on the other side of it. I think I've never edited an anthology, but I've talked to you about it and other authors that have done that,
Yeah.
and hearing them talk
Yeah.
about stories that they loved but it didn't fit, or
Oh,
it,
it's
it
hard.
came down to like I had to choose one or the other, and and
Yeah.
and basically hearing that stuff that's good can't doesn't make it, sometimes. And
It
I think
does.
that
That's
helped
no,
me like get
you're
into
right.
this is not a personal attack, but yeah, it
Yeah.
is hard because there are some times where I can be very chill about it. I'm like, oh well, you know what, que sera
Yeah.
sera. Then there are other times I do like why it
I
should have been
know.
me.
I know, especially if it's something like you really feel like you put a lot into, or
Yeah,
you got
yeah,
like maybe too much of yourself went into it. 'Cause that's kind of what happened to me, and I got my feelings hurt. Like, and they weren't ugly about it. It was just the whole thing was like this. I was so confident, and anyway, I don't do it anymore because I can't handle it. But I will tell you, I do try my best because it is a whether you do take it personal or you're able to kind of step back and look at it differently or more like how you're talking about looking at it. I do try to make those rejections more personal, and I always inform people of the things that I did like because almost
yeah,
everything I read, there's at least something that I liked about it. I've very few times have come across something that was just like not didn't hit anything for me, right?
yeah,
And then sometimes when you're submitting and you're doing stories, it's kind of like you said, if it's something that if you're doing like if you're trying to stick into a specific mindset, but you get all these things that are in the same vein, then it becomes too conflicting about the story standing out on their own. And so,
yeah,
like when you do like themed anthologies and people all have the exact same idea, but they tell the story in a different way, that then becomes very competitive because if you put too many of those in the same, like what you were saying, it doesn't stand out. It's not memorable from the rest of the stories because there were too many that were similar. So
yeah,
just to kind of jump back to what you were saying before about making sure that that your stories were different enough that they didn't feel like you were doing the same thing over and over
yeah.
again.
That they earn their place. I mean, and also that's got to be such a challenge when you did the bathroom anthology, like because I mean, reading it, it was like nothing repeated. There's no it was always horror stories set in a bathroom, and none of the stories were similar. And to me, that
I
was so impressive. I kept thinking, like, man, how many of these did she read to get it whittled down to like I think it was like
the
13,
listen,
14 stories.
it'll be 30 years from now, and I will still be talking about the level of impressive that was these authors. Because that's why I did a part two, because I wanted unique stories and I gave them these very small parameters and they did them. And I was overwhelmed with creativity. I was like, there's no freaking way I can turn down this many people. I can't. Like, I can't. Like, we're going to have to do a part two, which I'm not going to do with our next one. I've already promised Kat and Tasha. I'm like, I promise we will whittle it down. I have two other people now helping me pick and stuff, but I love that you thought about that part because I think when you're doing short stories, it can be kind of difficult to not, especially if you have your own interest, like if you have your own things that you really like, whether it's like slasher elements or ghost
Yeah.
stories or whatever, it can be very easy to have those things. Did you have are there stories in here that have interest points like that for you? Things that you really love to cover and talk about?
Yeah, like I'm a big like everything was a brief obsession. Like I'll get where something is like it becomes like just an obsession for me for like a little
Yeah.
bit. Like at one point it was I bought these books at a yard sale. I'm blanking on what they're called, but I had like 4 or 5 volumes, and they're just this collection. It was this group of Harvard anthropologists and researchers that went to Appalachian Mountains and
Yeah.
talked to people about like home remedies and things like that. And I was reading one about the Madstone, like that was the only cure for rabies was taking like this calcified rock from gut of a deer, and you could put it on the wound, and that's supposed to cure rabies. And
What? That sounds
and it
cool.
became like a thing. Like if someone had a Madstone, it's a big deal. Like if you were bit
Yeah.
in 2 states away, this woman's got a Madstone. You got to get over there, and that became like an obsession. So I have a story called The Madstone, which is about like rabies and all that. Um,
I love that.
and like I love stories of like cryptids and ghosts and the paranormal.
Yeah.
So I have the story of the Ghost Hunter is just a guy that's he's at the end of his life. He spent his life researching these things. It's like when your life flashes before your eyes at the end, but his
Yeah.
is all the things he's seen. Like he's basically getting a tour of all the monsters and creatures and things he's encountered over the years as he's
Oh,
going
wow.
to his death. And so it was basically me of like, all right, well, I'll throw in some Thunderbirds. I'll throw in some carry-off dogs. We'll throw a dog man in there. Like anything
I love that.
I
Yeah.
got to use a true thing. It's I met these people and they lived in a town right outside Bonham in North Texas, and they had a ghost in their house, and it was a little girl, and they'd always see her run through the kitchen and living room and like kind of run through the house out the door.
Yeah.
And they had these colorful curtains, and they said that that's her dress. Like we brought curtains to match her dress, so she feels welcome. And so they see her just run through every now and then. And I was always just obsessed with that. That like they talked about it, like, oh yeah, we want her to feel part of it, and we noticed the pattern on her dress, so our curtains are in the kitchen
Oh
above the
my
sink match her
God.
dress. And so I threw that in that story. It's like this is that's a little thing that's been in the back of my head. I mean, I think I met those people in like 2004. So for like 20 years, I was like, I'm gonna do something with it. They
With
match their
that.
curtains to the little girl's clothing. Like
That's so
20 years later, I
cute
figured out how to
though.
use it. It was. That's what I
I
thought. I was like, it
love
was so
that.
cute. Like,
It
'cause I've talked to
is.
people who've lived in haunted places and they're like
Yeah.
horrified or traumatized and
Scared. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
scared. And they're just like, and I mean, even then they were like, maybe you'll see her if you stay long enough. Like, they were just like, it's so neat when it happens.
They've
And
embraced it. It's not something that freaks them out. And yeah, I've done one ghost hunt in my life, and the people, like, they were unsettled, but it was almost like they had gotten used to being unsettled. Like we had
yeah,
doors opening, and we got like orbs, and we got all kinds of stuff when we were there. But it was one of those things where you could just tell they were just kind of like, yeah, it's a little weird. They just kind of accepted.
it's kind of like the adrenaline junkie thing where
Yeah.
it's like, well, what else? Like, I've seen doors
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
What else? Like freak me out. Like,
Yeah, yeah, because
I've
'cause I've
grown
gotten
numb to
used to
this.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I love that, and I'm also a big fan of anything ghost related and cryptid, so that's all gonna be super up my alley. I love cryptid stuff, and I don't feel like there's enough of it in horror. I don't know
yeah.
that I would ever feel like there was, honestly, but I'm always excited when people go cryptid routes. So you've put a lot into this. This has been a very long process to get this ready to go out into the world. What do
Yeah.
you think is your favorite part of working on this project?
Um, I think it was doing the it was doing the illustrations because then I felt like I finished the stories, I had
Yeah,
them pretty much done, and
yeah.
just it was such a different thing to do, and I was just thinking about like every time I get one done, and I would add a little watercolor to it, and I'd be like, all right, people are gonna love this, or I don't know, it felt like I was heightening each story with each one I did. I don't know,
Aw.
I enjoyed that process. I think that it made me more excited to get it out there.
Yeah,
And there were some setbacks with it, and for a little while, I thought about not putting it out there and just
yeah,
being like, that's it's done. But
I get it.
I'm kind of glad that I decided to go ahead and move forward with it.
I'm glad too because I'm very excited to check it out. And I was going to ask that too, watercolors. So, how did you do these? Did you do pencil and then color? Like, what was your process for the medium for the
Um,
illustrations?
I would do like just little thumbnail quick sketches on just regular paper,
Yeah.
and then I had like this thicker watercolor paper, and then I would pencil, then I would ink it, and then I would watercolor it, and so they end up looking like basically this. Um,
Oh, I
so
love
like
it.
then that one's for one called Return of the Stars,
Oh,
and
that's super cool.
yeah, so like there's the one that ended up being the cover,
I love
but
it.
yeah, so then I would just have them on this paper, and and our printer scanner crapped the bed and died, so I would just go over to my in-laws' house down the road, and I would use
Hmm.
theirs. Like, so my father-in-law would just be working on his job, and I come and be like, hey, don't mind me, just gotta scan some drawings, and I'd always end up leaving one or two behind in the scanner, so he would pop by and be like, yeah, you left this monster in the scanner. Like, here you go.
I love that though. Did you edit and format this yourself?
Um, I got help with my Micah Castle edited it, and Robert Clever did some additional proofreading for me
Okay.
on the last third of it.
Okay.
But formatting I did myself. I used Vellum,
Oh, okay. I've heard of that
and
one.
it was like and it was tough because I was trying all these different ways to make the images work, and I
That's where
ended
I
up
was
just kind
going.
of
Yep.
I just kind of ended up I formatted them in Canva and I put borders on
Oh,
them and I
yep.
did that, and I kind of altered the shading on it so they all were uniform, and then I would import them directly into the because I thought about making them chapter headings, but they shrunk too small,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
don't, and then I would try to make them just bigger on the page, but I don't, it just always messed up the formatting in a way, and
Oh,
so I went
yeah.
the full page route, and they looked way better.
I
I
bet.
was trying different borders and things like that to there's some I drew myself, and some I ended up using that were template ones just to
Yep.
it gave it more of a uniform look. Didn't
Yeah.
look like it
Yeah.
was just posted on the page.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a lot of trial and error.
I was gonna say for anybody who's not familiar, formatting is rough. Like it's a like, and
Yeah,
I don't do formatting. I just assume Kat Valor is gonna do all of my things, and I don't have to worry about it. But she, of course, discussed with me how like she's like, I know you want me to do this, but this is a pain in the ass. Like I
yeah,
know, I'm sorry, but she uses she doesn't use that one. She uses the other one, Atticus. Is that what the other one's called? It's another formatting software that you can use. But I do know that it can be a lot when you're incorporating images. And that's kind of why I was
yeah.
asking that to ask it. Was this your first time formatting something?
Um, no, I formatted Apartment 239 High Strangeness myself.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay.
but I
So
mean, there
you're
was
at
no
least,
illustrations. There were no
it was just
pictures.
words.
Yeah. So yeah, and this one there's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of all right, try it. Generate sample ebook, look at it, be like, okay, go back to the drawing board on this, and
Yeah. When you got your first printout proof, was it perfect or did you have to still go back and tweak the images?
the images looked good. There's a few things I had to tweak. I changed like the dedication page, the introduction page
Oh,
with the pictures looked weird, so I altered those.
yeah.
And there's just a few other just weird kind of formatting stuff where things didn't
Yeah.
sit right on the page, but it was pretty minor. So I mean,
That's good.
but I spent so much time before I got the proof, like just
I'm
altering,
sure.
changing over and over and over. So if it came back, if the proof came back messed up, I might have just been like, I
Do
gotta,
this.
I gotta get some cash. I gotta call Cat. Like I gotta,
So
which
it's yeah.
which I
Yeah.
mean, I did it, but I don't know if I'll do it again on my own. I wonder if next time I'll just be, I need to, I'm gonna hire, I'll hire a professional next time.
Yeah. I don't have the patience for technology. I am a little less of a typical millennial in that way, but I think it's because one of my parents is like a technophobe. And so like I just grew up in a very divided house, but technology frustrates me to no end. And I can tell you now, I do not have it in my spirit to do formatting.
Yeah,
I will just give up on every project I touch. I'm telling you, I couldn't do it. So I'm that's impressive to me too, because I don't have what it takes to get through formatting for, especially if you're saying, everything in here has its own, that's a lot of images to have to go in and do all of that too. So kudos.
I mean, it was probably like because I remember a friend of mine was like, offering to format books, and he was like, I'll charge you like $7,500 to format
Yeah.
a book, and like after doing this one, I was like, hey, you're not charging enough. You need to charge. You need to triple it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, and I think I've only worked with Kat because when I find people that I trust, I don't typically, go away from that.
yeah,
But I know she has different fees, whether it's just words, right, or simple headers versus something like this project. And
yeah,
so she has like, I guess tiers would probably be, it's like tiers of
yeah,
formatting, and I think that's really smart because I've seen a couple of other books that are done with images and things, not quite as extensive as this, but just that have more images in them and things. And it's I know it's a lot of work to get those I mean, even
yeah.
basic stuff sometimes is difficult in formatting. So yeah, they definitely need to charge for the time because I know it takes a lot of it to get.
Yeah, I mean, like Never Leaving, Laura
Yeah,
Cathcart, she did the cover, the illustrations, and the
yeah,
formatting, all of it,
yeah,
and there's cool divider images all throughout
yep,
it, there's like a broken femur for the
yep,
dividing sections, and
cute,
it's just
love
so
it.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and stuff like that really can, I feel like, just elevates the reading experience. Like, not that you can't get a great experience, like I mentioned before, from a book that's just words, but like Kat did for my shark book, she did tentacles and bubbles and things like in little details in the chapter titles and like the little breaks in between, like
Yeah,
what you're talking about. And I just feel like it's just this cute little like extra thing that's exciting, I think, for people who wrote it and then also for people who read it. I think it's a great
yeah,
thing to do. Yeah,
absolutely.
elevates the experience a little bit, I
Yes.
think. Yeah. Um, well, I also wanted to ask, and this is something I try to ask everybody because I think we all set very different expectations for ourselves and what readers are going to get out of our projects. But I wanted to ask if there was something specific you hope people get out of reading this.
Um, I hope it's a like I hope it feels seasonal. It feels like I there's a review. There's only two reviews at the moment, but one of them talked about how it
Yeah,
felt like autumn. It felt like a Halloween read,
that's such a
and
compliment. Yeah,
that's what I want. I want a thing where it feels like you should read this during the spooky season. Like it feels like,
I
and
love
maybe it's
that.
something people come back to. Like I've
Yeah,
always loved how like Ray Bradbury's the October country has kind of become a thing that people like annually they go back to.
they go back to it. Yeah,
And I have authors that certain times a year I'm gonna like in December I'm always gonna sit down and read a few M.R. James stories like and
yeah,
so I would love this to be something that becomes like that like oh
yeah,
it's Halloween I should pick this up like look at the illustrations a little bit read a couple of stories like
yeah.
so
No, I
I would
think that's
love
great.
that to be I would love that to
I think
happen.
it's great. Yeah. Um, So let's see, it released is September 2nd. That's 2 days
Mhm.
before my birthday. I'll have to get
Yay!
myself a copy for my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Um, yeah, it'll be like it's so great too because like I think it's a great time of year to be putting out projects as far as the horror side of things because like you said
Mhm.
it is we are getting into, I mean, spooky season is year round for us. But this is the time of year starting, I would say, in like August. This is
Yeah,
the time of year where non-horror readers look for new horror to find to read.
yeah,
So that'll be cool if once it's out to get to people maybe who maybe haven't read something you've done before or who aren't used to reading indie horror. And I love that people are getting more into the indie horror side of things, though. I'm like, we're getting away from the Stephen Kings and the other nonsense, and we're getting
yes,
into like
yeah,
the good stuff with the indie authors. And I love that. So I'm really excited. I love the idea that you did the illustrations. Like I said before, I'm already a fan of your writing and the way you tell stories. I've
thank you.
already seen what you're capable of with short story collections and Find Us and other stories. And I'm really excited to help promote this in any way that I can, and just to see kind of the reaction of people getting it, when it comes in the mail. Because it's got to be like you got to get this on physical, like because
Yeah,
if it's got this much work went into, there's a lot that went into these illustrations, and you're gonna want to see them on paper. I know it, so I'm really excited for you.
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to put links on where to find you, of course, and everything in the
Okay.
description for the episode. Um, this is going to go out a little earlier, but once I'll have to set myself like a little reminder because my memory is shot. But I'll set myself a little reminder so that when it releases, I can also put the link on where to purchase it. Are you going to do you have a pre-order link yet or anything like that?
Not yet.
Okay.
I have it kind of set up. If you go to Amazon, you'll see it
Yeah.
there, and it says coming out in second, and it has a Goodreads
Yeah.
listing. Um,
Yeah, so if you're watching this, go add it to your wanna read. That helps indie authors a lot. Put it on your
yes,
wanna read
yes,
list on
please.
Goodreads. It does boost visibility for other people looking for things that are similar. I try to do that with projects and stuff that I want to help support and things I know I'm going to read. And so I'll find the Goodreads link and I'll put that here too. So it'd be easy for you
Thank
to
you.
click and go do that.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
No time.
no time at all. Click and go. Well, thank you for making time to talk about your book. We haven't done anything in a while, so it was overdue. And I, like I said, I was already a fan, so I'm always excited to see that you have new projects coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. I always love these talks.
Yeah, me too. Feel the same way. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this episode of Indie Horror Author Interviews. As I said, I will have Elford's links in the description. Go mark the book as one to read and go check it out. I don't think you're going to want to miss it. I'm going to flash the cover again just because, like, this is so cute. I love it. I love the title too, Mad Days. Is that the name of a story, or did you just that just felt right?
It just felt right. Um,
I don't know why, but I had a feeling you were going to say that.
yeah.
Just felt right. So, well, cool. Well, thanks again to everybody for hanging out with us in this episode. We hope you have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend when you get to it, and we'll see you in the next one.
Mhm.